Hey guys, this is your host, JP, aka The Demon for Lit Literature. Just wanted to give you a quick forward and reminder that this episode 5 on part 3 of The Way of Kings by Brandon Sanderson is still a developmental episode, an episode in which we're working our process out. But regardless, it's a good review, and if you want to kind of come along this ride of these early episodes and review of books 1 and 2 with us, that's awesome. Without further ado, cheers. All right. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. This is Lit Literature with the Shoutouts, and we are back on a bit of a break to talk about part 3 of the Stormlight Archives, book 1, The Way of Kings. Again, this is your host, The Demon, JP. I've got a cast of visitors that have been with me from the beginning in this case, starting with the director. He gave us
Brett
peace
Williams
sign.
is my name.
Go ahead, guys, around the table.
We got Cherry, Josh Armstrong.
Got Hitman Ben.
Captain Andrew, fresh from the excommunicated Ardentia.
Eam the Dream.
And then
Manny.
All right. So let's not waste too much time. Let's get into it right away. We went kind of long last time, so I figured let's get right into this. So we're in. Well, the first thing I got to do is we had some Brett bets come to fruition. I want to review these real quick. So when we get to the points where we're talking about these, that's when we'll probably do them. So Brett bet 1: heralds make agreement to get their power where they in the hell or outside. We can't answer that yet.
Linear cynical, nope.
No. Let's see. Is Zeth bound to the stone morally or magically? We're getting maybe close.
I don't think we know that yet.
Yeah, I think we're just getting
Okay.
close.
Shallan, does Yasna know about Shallan's family? Ooh, we can answer this. Does she know about that shit? So that's 1. Are the Clear Lake people who are searching for that mysterious guy actually heralds?
We don't know that either.
We don't know that either. And I think there was one more. Did I not record them all?
I thought there was a couple more.
Oh well, they are lost to the void.
The Voidbringers.
I think somebody knows. Didn't we just talk about one beforehand?
Yeah, one of them, I'm pretty sure one of them was, will Yesna find out about Shallan's true intentions? Or does she already know?
I think it
That
was,
was
does she
that
already know? We
question.
got that one, yeah.
Does she know about her
Yasna know
family?
about Shallan's family or past situation?
Oh no, there was
true
one on
intentions?
the does Kaladin kill
Beat the Shardbearer.
beat the Shardbearer?
That's the one.
Oh,
where they
yeah.
say-
But I think that one was in the
That was in one of our test episodes.
test episodes, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. We're still gonna honor it though.
That's
for those
fine.
who bet.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's fine.
Well, we should be able to see.
Let
Did you write
everybody
it down
know
or
what
no?
it is then. What is the bet?
The bet was a drink and some push-ups, I believe, for almost all of them.
Ooh.
I think that's what it was.
Yeah, I think so too.
And the condition of that bet was
Does Kaladin beat the Shardbearer?
Or does he not beat the Shardbearer?
What did we all say? Me and Josh.
We abstained.
no?
I don't have it.
I'm pretty sure. I think one person bet against for the sake of everyone else was saying he's gonna beat him.
that sounds like something I'd do.
Yep.
This
Was this one the one I
is
was
Brett
here
over
for?
here.
Yeah.
So everybody knows that's listening back at home or in their cars. Back in like chapter like 2 or something like that. Like right when we meet Kaladin. It's in the Sen episode, right? Yeah.
Yep.
So it's like chapter 1, I think. When there's Sen and I think Dalit, and we meet Kaladin, and Sen gets brought in, and then they have the big battle, and they feel like they won, but then a Shardbearer comes, and Kaladin charges him because he's like, "This is how we get to the
Shattered Plains.
directly to the Shattered Plains," and it kind of cuts there, and we finally figure out from his perspective what happened after that in these chapters.
So let's just do this real quick. Did anyone say that Kaladin did not beat a Shardbearer?
I think I said it just to play devil's advocate. I said, I'm pretty sure I said, I think that they might be trying to play like a bait and switch on us, showing how powerful this guy is, and that Shardbearers can
That's
take him down
right.
with ease.
We should have listened to the previous recordings and we would have known.
Yeah. Anyway, you think I would have because I'm editing them. Anyway, so it looks like we've got one at least. So screw it, let's just get into it. So we get to read some pretty badass interludes. The first interlude starts out with a merchant girl.
What was her
visiting
name?
the Shin. Let me check.
That was a very interesting name.
It was.
It's kind of hard to pronounce.
Yeah.
Unless you had the audiobook.
Yeah, I can tell you. I'll remember.
One thing that I thought was very interesting
Risen.
about that entire part is it's like almost like she's in our world at that point, where it's like, what would this be like without the whole effects
the
of
storms.
these high storms and
Yeah,
stuff?
the
So
grass.
like the grass, she's like, oh, it's so weird. It doesn't like. She's like, how does any of this live? Like a high storm would tear up all of this. Well, okay, well then that's probably why the plant life is developed that way. But it's so similar to kind of like it's just grass. It's like what we have here, what we're used to. So it's funny that they're going from that perspective
Soil.
that soil, that they're like soil wouldn't survive. It's all rock and like craggy like exterior surfaces. But it's so interesting that the foreign entity is kind of what we're used to. So it's weird having someone come in and be like, this is all strange, where it's like, no, that's normal. But
Right.
It's a cool kind of way of describing that.
So what did you guys think about?
Yeah, and I
the,
thought it was funny, like the exact like phrase that she used, where she was like, "You guys are lucky you don't have storms. These would all be, blown away or something like that."
Yeah.
That's the
like,
reason they have that.
Yeah.
That's the reason they have it.
Right.
It's like
Stupid.
maybe you guys are unlucky that you do have storms, so you don't have any of this stuff.
Right. I thought it was a real nice touch on Sanderson's part to really flip around commercialism with the Shen trade values.
Oh, yeah.
Because the Shen traders value undercutting their own products and they expect other traders to do the same. Otherwise, they know you're lying and they're not going to buy your stuff.
Exactly.
Which is a complete flip-flop of real commercialism.
Yeah.
That was pretty
Actually,
hilarious.
one thing that came to mind when I was reading it, Jeff, I don't know if you'll agree with me on this or not, but not so much with regard to their trade or the way that they do business, but it reminded me a little bit of how Japanese people interact with each other. They're constantly downplaying themselves and their abilities and having other people bring value to them rather than them bringing value to themselves. I thought that was interesting.
Yeah.
That was interesting. That's a good touch. I do agree with that, Brett. The other thing that was kind of cool is you get a little insight in how the Shin think. And obviously our good buddy Zeth is Shin.
Yeah, and that can kind of draw you into exactly like how their culture is a little bit. When you talk like, why is this guy so obsessed with like following the code and this type of stuff? And you get a little bit of a hint into that when the merchant, I forget the elderly merchant, is saying like, no, like you have to gain their trust like the first, and they
Vistem.
are always gonna follow these specific codes. Like they won't trade with outsiders, and it's very hard to get in with them because they're so strict with that whole like what type of person you are and are you humble type of like how are you presenting all of your stuff.
And how about the fact that we find out our good buddy, what's his name? Vistum? Vistum. He actually received Zeth.
Right.
In the first place.
What? He was the one that initially had him and traded him
Traded him away.
to the Parshendi.
Parshendi. But what you wonder is one of the things he said is, and I'm wondering if this isn't Seth said, that a lot of his captors would be uncomfortable with him because of his intelligence, and like they would feel a natural just like this isn't like I shouldn't own this. And you wonder if this elderly merchant had that same feeling, or because he seemed like maybe not like your average, just like, oh, like I'm scared by something that's like really smart or this person. So he must have probably seen some intrinsic value, and that's how it ended up with the Parshendi.
Yeah.
Or knowing that it was a pretty worthwhile trade.
His character definitely had the foresight to be able to trade with new cultures, and he was clearly an intelligent trader for being able to pick up on some of those subtleties. So he probably had a pretty good scope of what he actually owned when he purchased Zeth, and he may not have wanted to deal with the potential costs of ownership.
I think really he's not really interested in using violence, and Zeth is more so like a tool to kill.
I don't even know if he knew that. Seth was
I don't know.
capable.
If
I
of
think
that.
he did because he knew
said he
from the interaction with Thresh. I think the other whatever they are, Parshman. No,
The Shen?
the Shen. Yeah, he knew like that they valued warriors really low, and that's why
Right.
he was like
able to get him. And he also kind of hinted at, like, this was an amazing deal.
Yeah.
So you wonder, like, well, maybe it's because it was just he was so obedient and so well trained, I guess. But I'm wondering if also he, like, maybe recognized something and was able to sell it for a vast amount of money. So it's like, you get one of those, you send it towards me because I made a lot of money off of that. Whereas
Doesn't he blatantly say at some point that he really felt strange even trading him for anything because he knew that he was a truthless? Like, it was like he wasn't even able to accept money for it. It seemed like that was something that they
ended up throwing
like
the
were
payment
honor bound
into
to get
Viva.
rid of.
Yeah.
He like he only like accepted goods because like he had to trade them or something like that, or because the other guy wouldn't let him take it for free.
Yeah,
He
the
didn't
Shin
even
were
want
the Shin
anything in
were-
return for him.
Yeah, the Shin were trying to say, like, no, you can't buy him because he's worthless. He's truthless. He's absolutely, like, horrible. And he wanted to try and be like, no, I want value out of it. But they almost refused it because that's like an insult for them, the Shin, to take money for something that they were going to throw out. Like, that's literally just garbage to them. So, he was even saying, like, oh, you get another one of those, just hand it over, because he knew that there was value in it.
Yeah.
More tidbits to the Shin.
But
So,
I wanna like the truth.
Do we know exactly how someone becomes truthless?
I
Did
was
we
just about to say that,
ever
like, how he
read that?
became it. It seems like something happened or he did something.
Yeah,
Like,
there's definitely got to
So
be
I
something.
think the only thing that I caught is that they through certain things they kind of insinuate that he picked up and did something with a weapon that made him even less than a warrior. They have warriors, but not all warriors are truthless. We get that from this particular conversation. So he did something extra, and I think they kind of insinuated that he did something. So that's all we know.
At this point, yeah.
So I think
It seems kind of interesting because, like, if Truthless gives away the fact that not only is he a warrior, but a warrior capable of doing bad things, it almost, like, even though he's valued as nothing because he's truthless, it, like, almost guarantees that his next owners are going to know he's capable of these things that he shouldn't be doing because they mark him truthless.
I don't think anyone outside the Shin really know what a truthless is.
I don't think so either.
And you can even tell a little bit by
really?
the merchant that the Shin are of hard culture to, like, they're kind of seem to be very closed off, and they're not allowing of other people into their lands. Like, even the merchant was like, they won't trade with anyone. You kind of have to know the secrets. So I get a feeling that they're a very closed off border, that not a lot of other cultures, they don't get a lot of assimilation because no one goes there because it's so weird.
Also, when they met to trade, they met outside.
They made outside
the town,
borders,
the city,
yeah.
until they had to come out there.
That's a good point.
They wouldn't have been allowed in.
I think also if you look at the name that they kind of refer to him as, they refer to him as truthless. So you wonder if, does that have something to do with, like, could it be just lies? Did he tell a lie? Or did he, is it something to do with his, it seems like it's almost an insult on your honor when they say you're truthless because, you're just a liar, you're just like something like that.
We'll
So I'm
have to
wondering-
keep this. We could take a Brett bet on this, but we gotta keep moving towards there. Where there's a lot, man. We're in interlude part 1, so
Is now a good time to talk about Zeth, since we're kind of talking about him already?
let's do it. Yeah, we'll go
just
far,
go with
far
his,
down the Zeth
with his
character.
next. Well, yeah, we'll go down the Zeth hole right now. But in the next chapter with Zeth, we see him with his new owner, who seems to be a gambling den owner, I guess. And he's been using Zeth to
Ruffian cutthroat.
to rough people up in town and basically seize power, become a local figure of authority. And he sends Zeth to assassinate another rival. And Zeth runs into a very interesting character who has already completed his job for him, and it does not bode well for the rest of the world.
So, not at all. And I'd like to point out real quick that it's kind of interesting that this guy, so Zeth is going on these missions to rough people up or even kill people.
Yeah.
And he's hiding the use of his abilities so that his owner finds out he's kind of a badass, but he's trying to hide the fact that he has a little bit more than just a badass. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Doesn't know about the shard blade. Doesn't know about his lashings power, right? But he does meet somebody, and I think right now we gotta take a little Brett bet. Some of us, I don't know if my memory is not good enough. Maybe Josh, maybe you could help me. But who do you think this dude is?
Oh, I know.
Man, we know.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, I forgot.
Well, we don't know who that guy is. We know who he works for, though.
That's what I think that I know. So, but you know what? I don't know if we can answer
I have a side Brett bet for this if you guys are interested.
Do it. Lay it out.
So right now, it was revealed at the end of that chapter that mysterious figure is going to have Zeph start ruining the world by just assassinating various leaders, figures of power to throw the world into chaos. And I really don't want this to happen, but I think it's being set up that this is going to happen. The king of Carbranth is a goner. I think because he's basically peacefully ruling over that city, building hospitals. I think Zeth is going to go over there and kill him. So Brett bet we are doing my theory is that king will be dead very soon.
Dude, we are doing a Brett bet on this right now. And I will tell you that Josh and I cannot partake in this.
Definitely. Why else would they want us to like that king so much?
All right. So here's I gotta capture this. So okay, we got
Just saying that makes me change my bet now. Because if you know what happens, then I feel like he dies. Then
we'll find out.
Not necessarily. It could also mean that they went to go try and assassinate it, and they know that they somehow were able to protect him.
Good old King of Carbranth. What's his name? Anybody remember his name?
He's a kindly old man.
Kindly old man. Kindly and, according to Shalon, somewhat dim.
A little dim, right?
Okay, so we're gonna do
All
this.
right, let's go around
table.
quickly.
All right, Brett.
Yes.
Ben. Oh yeah,
No.
I can't do good. No.
I'm gonna stick to my original thought.
Copy him down.
Because it's just a small kingdom of a city. Like, why bother killing him? Because he has no power.
That's where all the schools for the surgeons
Yeah.
are.
FYI, guys, this character's name is Teravangian. King
that's it.
Teravangian. He's a goner, in my opinion. 100%.
Yeah.
I hope he's not, but
Brett
he will
said yes.
Death. Ben said no.
said no.
To death. Andrew said yes.
Dras, El Capitan, says yes.
It's gonna be Manny.
The dream.
The dream.
I think it's
I don't
no.
think that's an official answer.
50-50, baby. Woo!
That's a good one.
All right, cheers. We got Brett
Cheers.
back. Okay. All right. So now, this is good. So now we know Zeth is going to be running around the world causing havoc, and we'll be able to talk about him a little bit. When we
I
talk
also
about
think
Kaladin.
that this is probably a little bit of a hint towards kind of some of the things because he and I think it's really interesting to say that Zeth actually was saying he way more prefers for all of his exceptional abilities to go 100% to waste. So he preferred sitting in a pretty much grungy bar performing parlor tricks, cutting himself with a knife to prove that he is 100% obedient than actually
kill
doing
someone.
things.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
he's this killing is, and it's really interesting to think how kind of maybe the structure of his values, because killing is still preferable to breaking this truthless code.
Yeah.
So, and this truthless code seems to be oh, you're a garbage human being, essentially. So I'd rather continue to say I am a garbage human being by killing people than to say I'm not a garbage human being by not killing
And
people.
that will lead into
That
a
is
Brett bet that we
a
have.
huge strong. I know exactly, and
Yeah.
this leads into that. That's a huge amount of commitment you have to being and that's really hard for even just think about it yourself. How would you ever say, I'm gonna take this belief that I'm an absolutely terrible human being and I need to follow that and I need to continue to be that, than to just actually killing people, which is physically a bad thing.
And
so it's really interesting.
I want to go on to that last Zest chapter.
Okay, sure. Go
What?
for it. Hitman, do it.
Wait,
before we move on.
before we do that, we were talking about who we think that the guy was that came at the end of that
shadowy
chapter.
figure.
Yeah, and who he works for. And this is what I thought you were gonna bring up, but you didn't. And I was totally thinking that it sounds like it's the guy that got left behind. That's coming back to kind of ruin the whole world because he's you guys screwed me over. I'm gonna screw over the whole world, kind of a deal. It's kind of like setting up the villain.
Wow. Well, I think we got another Brett bet on it right now.
I thought.
Well,
about that
we
too, Manny.
kind of already have one on that, don't we? We have one on.
I don't think we recorded
thought-
one on
I
that.
think we decided that we all thought he was gonna be the villain.
Oh.
Yeah, right.
All of us that can partake.
Right. Right.
There was another interesting couple of breadcrumbs that Sanderson threw our way in that chapter where the shadowy figure brought up Zeth's father, and he said, "Don't even compare me to him. I'm not even worthy of being associated with my father." So
Sounds
we know
like he's
that.
well informed.
Yeah, so we
Yeah.
know that Zeth's family is going to come into play at one point.
And probably seems like a powerful or somewhat
Yeah.
honorable type of figure. Or it could just be because as soon as you're toothless, you can't associate with your family anymore. But it kind of alludes a little bit that maybe this is could be royalty, could be someone very powerful, could be someone who's gonna mean something later in the
But,
story that
yeah,
we're probably gonna
when
meet.
he knew all that knowledge, I was thinking that perhaps he set up Zeth in the first place to become a Toothless because of his powers, so he could use them for himself. Because if he was
Ah.
a regular Shin, he would probably never use them and just live his life honorably. But if he set him up for a fall, he could come into his hands and own him.
Well, not only that, he's talking about his father, but where the hell did he get a freaking shard blade?
I was
Yeah.
totally thinking the same thing. Is that why he's a Toothless? Because he got a shard blade somehow?
But also, if you think about it, like, if you think the Shin, even though they're maybe a closed-off nation, they have to know the value of one of those. So did the Shin even know when they threw him away that that's what they're throwing away? A shard blade.
Based on what we've read, it seems like they did, but we
Yeah.
don't know that yet.
It seems like they did because they think that warriors are the lowliest of humans,
But you
and
also-
they're traded as slaves.
But even if they're the lowest of humans, when you think about it, all other cultures say this is worth entire nations. One shard
Yeah.
blade is worth nations.
Nations.
So, like, to be like, even if you're like, I think it's not like garbage and not worth anything, but there's got to be a point where they're going to say, all right, other countries
Well,
know that this is worth
Just
it.
to go off that real quick.
Go ahead, Hitman. Then
They traded Zeth away, assuming knowing he had some pillars, and he said it was
Yeah.
worthless. We can't take a payment. The payment he took, he threw it in the river.
in the river.
he didn't even want
Right.
to keep it. And
Yeah.
also
And so,
thinking about moral
if they had
code.
that strong belief, then the shard blade for them would still, they wouldn't have been traded, I don't think.
And maybe nations isn't worth the moral code that they have.
Exactly. They feel like
So-
a very, very strict moral society. Like they believe something, and it's regardless of what's going on in the world. They're very self-centered or ethnocentric, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, not to spend too long, because we actually got a lot of characters to talk through.
We do.
So we got one more interlude
Yeah.
character. Yes. And then we'll pick which character we want to kind of dive into. There's a lot of characters in part 3. So, last interlude character, pretty interesting guy.
Yeah.
Seems to be at least ancient, if not immortal. Totally obsessed with Spren.
Spren.
The Spren Scholar.
Oh,
Can
so
change
amazing.
his shape
Axes.
and
right?
color. Axes, yeah. So we're gonna call him Axes the Collector. Is that even that might be the chapter?
Oh, nice. Yep.
Sweet. Axes the Collector. Okay. I called that subliminal memory. So Axes the Collector. We gotta take a bet on this mofo.
Just a side
This guy.
note: if Axis the Collector was in a movie and they made this into a movie, Axis the Collector would be a very hot guy.
All right, dreamy Amy. All right, so we've got
Doesn't
hot
he have
Axes
like
the
crazy
Collector.
skin color, like
Tattoos.
tattoos all
All
over?
over
He
the
can change
place.
them, and he
Yeah.
does he? Or no, it's the Shin that have really big eyes and look
They shouldn't have big
childlike.
eyes. Yeah.
He is that memento thing, except he can move the tattoos.
He can move his tattoos around. Yeah. So
And that's how he records like Memento. That's how he records like messages to himself later.
Research
Yeah.
notes.
I see what you did there. I see what you did there.
So Sanderson has some pretty, in my opinion, pretty damn creative cultures in this book.
Yeah.
So we don't know a ton about this guy. Is he unique? But he's interested in Spren. He finds Spren and then researches them, records them. Tattoos
Right.
his body up.
And he's immortal.
And
We don't know about immortal. He seems he's lived for thousands of years,
Right.
right? He
He's
even
lived
says
a
like,
long time.
and he's so maybe he can still be killed. But then again, he didn't care about getting
Being
thrown in
arrested.
cells and getting being literally in a freaking alleyway, completely naked and drunk out of his mind after getting mugged. So that seemed to maybe he is immortal.
I think he's immortal.
Sanderson gives us some interesting things in these interludes, right? Because we get a little taste of the surrounding world and maybe some bigger picture things.
He's just toying with us, Jack.
All right. So if there's no Brett bet on this guy, maybe we don't know enough yet. But it's really interesting. What does he consider himself? What is this guy? What is his motives besides studying Spren, which he loves? Why?
And
I think his motive is science.
yeah, could be.
Pure and simple.
Yeah, but then you also look at that when you say like he's kind of his lifelong goal is to investigate Spren, we still have no clue what those are.
Some people's lifelong goal in our day and age is collecting Pokemon that don't exist.
That's
so.
true. But
In his day and age, he's 1,000 years. He got bored, and there's something real that he can study. Spren.
But no, maybe I'm a little bit lying though, because we do know a little bit about Spren.
We do.
From the very end of the chapter with Shallan. So we're starting to learn a little bit that there may be some very deeper, not even necessarily like spiritual or religious, but almost like totally, possibly composing the entire world. Like,
All right.
And they've alluded to some of this stuff in some of the talkings.
I agree. So now we got to pick. Now that we got through,
The drawings.
snap,
The
dude.
drawings.
Okay, so what do you guys want to talk first? We're gonna talk through Shallan. We're gonna
Should we
talk
go
through
to Shallan
Kaladin, or
next?
we're gonna talk through.
Hold that
Kaladin?
bitch.
Wait, hold on. So, as far as this guy goes, I mean,
Axes?
like, what do you guys think about the whole idea of the person asking, "Are you a herald or a void bringer?"
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought that was pretty interesting. That the fact that a human, because up to this point we've kind of
beggar.
had this.
Yeah.
We've kind of always had this, or maybe not a human, but a humanoid type looking figure. Up to this point, we've kind of been given this idea that Voidbringers are these big, huge, destructive creatures, and this is one that at least can be mistaken for a Voidbringer, even if he isn't, in a normal kind of sized package that is human shaped ish. And
what's
I
up with
also
that
thought it was
beggar?
interesting. Doesn't he mention at some point, like, did I destroy any houses? Like, it seems like he almost can, like, turn into something that he has no control over.
Yeah, I would agree.
So, well, I think a lot of that I think he might have been playing the part of the destroying the homes when he was getting up from
Right.
the guy's makeshift village.
Right.
But is this foreshadowing, like an incredibly deep foreshadowing of this guy, maybe their culture, or maybe something else? Could he be one of the actual heralds? Or, like we said, a Voidbringer?
Or a Voidbringer. Right. And why the hell does a beggar drinking like crazy beggar say that?
Yeah.
Because there is
crazy.
precedent that kind of says we really don't know what a Voidbringer is because it's actually a chasm fiend, what they thought Voidbringers were.
That's what
potentially.
Yasna thinks, right? So
Yeah.
she's like, they don't even know what a Voidbringer is. It's too old. So they literally
So they just found the
draw
scariest
a
thing they
chasm
could find and be
fiend.
like, yeah, chasm fiend, that's it. It's just a big chasm fiend.
Yeah. So
Well, technically,
and then
it
I
wasn't
also
a
had-
chasm theme, there was
sorry, go ahead.
differences.
You're right,
And they
there was.
assumed that they just drew a picture of it, so it could look similar.
you're right. That's a good point. It was
Yeah, it could.
similar to a chasm fiend. Maybe that's our.
Right.
Who knows?
Yeah.
We there's a lot.
Also, Axes defined himself as a Voidbringer, which is crazy. Like, why would he
Yeah.
do that?
Yeah.
Maybe he's fucking with the beggar.
Yeah, I think it was
Yeah.
the-
I'm a Voidbringer.
I think he was messing with the hobo, but there's definitely like some underlying.
There's an underlying information there, like
Yeah.
we're thinking that
Yeah.
a Voidbringer is like terrible, where he's thinking like, oh, I'm a Voidbringer. We're like so casual about it, like
Yeah.
maybe they're not as terrible
Right.
as people think that they
Well,
are.
so the other thing is
Right.
that he's old enough, maybe, to know this shit.
He might be,
Exactly.
right?
Yeah.
So like maybe to him it's just like, haha, I'm a Voidbringer.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like joke, but I actually know what that is. You know. So I don't know. It's gonna be interesting. All right. So
I also had a passing thought really quick.
Do it. do it,
It's
director.
kind of really, really, really out there. But as I was reading it, and as soon as I heard the idea of him being able to change, like basically his skin, the shape of himself, right? Or is that someone else?
no, that's
Yeah,
him.
he
man.
can like
That's
change
his.
his shape, and he can also like kind of like tattoo his
Rearrange the
skin.
tattoos. Yeah.
There's a part of me that was kind of wondering if there's any link between this guy's race, who's potentially Voidbringers, and the people that they think are Parshendi or Parshmen, the Parshendi that they don't really know much about, that seem like Parshmen. Like, I wonder if they like change the shape of themselves to kind of look like Parshmen, and then they marbled their skin because they can tattoo themselves as a way to kind of hide in plain sight from people as Voidbringers. And
So
I don't
wanna,
know if there's like anything to back that up. I was just kind of thinking, oh, that'd be kind of interesting. As I
So
was
I
reading it.
love listening to your guys' theories right now because I'm a little further, right? I've gotten through book two.
Right.
And I love listening to it because sometimes you guys are picking up on cool stuff.
and it leads you to be completely wrong or completely right a lot of times, and it's just so awesome. So I love the theories. So keep it going, because that is freaking dope. And I'm really interested to see, as you guys get to learn more and more, where we're going to get with this. And then when we get to book 3 coming out in a few weeks, we're going to be reading fresh together. It's going to be wild and crazy.
Already pre-ordered it.
Hype.
Nice.
Hype. All right. So,
Shalom.
Yeah, let's get to Shalon.
let's go to Shalon. Okay.
Shalon.
So we're going to spend
Manny's
some
got
time
a
on
lot to say.
Shalon. So I know you guys were a little bit Shalon starved in the last section, right? So we
Right,
got a lot of Kaladin and Dalinar and Adolin and the area, the geographic area of the Shattered Plains. Now we come back to Shalon in a big way.
Yeah, you can
Big
say that
way.
again. A big way.
All right. So we're going to talk through her
Bigly.
entire character. And so where did we leave off? We left off with Shalon drawing during Yesna and Dalinar's meeting. And Dalinar had decided he was going to abdicate. Yeah.
The throne to Adolin.
his seat, I guess, because technically not king, right? But he's going to give it to
Well, he's
Adolin.
a high prince.
And then we come back to Shalon, who's clearly in her zone, loving her time
Yeah.
studying under Yasna, just
Right.
loving the freedom,
But still feeling guilty that she's loving it.
feeling guilty because she knows she's got to rob her blind.
And break it. But
She's
she's got to
genuinely enjoying it, and even
Yeah.
thought that she might even just forgo her brothers.
She was kind of thinking, could I steal it and send the Soulcaster back
Just
and
send it
stay,
off,
and hopefully, that'll.
I want to we'll keep this real quick. We don't need to go in long discussion, but quickly, if you were in her shoes in the beginning of this, what do you think you would do? Would you steal it, or would you stay, or would you try a different method? Just like real quick, 1 minute. Go around the table.
I'll start.
We'll go with Brett because he's in the captain's seat. Even though Andrew's the captain.
I mean, I would be a terrible family member because I wouldn't want to steal somebody and screw somebody over to make up for mistakes our family made. I
Gotcha.
would say I'm a big believer. I don't believe that there's ever a company too big to fail, and their family's a company that should fail.
Okay, don't explain too much. Don't explain too much because I want to add in on what you guys are saying. So go.
I was gonna say, I think I was frustrated that she didn't have a little bit more trust in Yasna to be able to say like, there's some shit going on in my family, and be able to say
Right.
like, we can, because I think she could have used that help a little bit, and I think she was bringing enough value to be able to try and say, can you help me? And I think it was a bit frustrating that she wouldn't trust her, because maybe from the outside it's easy for us to tell. She's also a princess that probably was raised certain ways and like maybe has different viewpoints, but I was just frustrated
Right,
she
man.
never tried that.
So she made a good contact, maybe good enough to ask for help. That's what you're saying, right?
Excellent
Like
point,
even
Josh.
if she didn't ask for help with the family, she could have been like, "This is my family's soulcaster, but it no longer works.
Can you help fix
Can you,
it?
can you know anything?"
Now
fixed.
remember though,
But that-
it's illegal to have those.
The
sort of
family,
bitches
yeah, because they
without
all
being-
belong to the king.
They all belong to the king, and that's the king's
That's
sister.
true.
So,
But the
now
king-
she
yeah.
has one because she's the king's sister.
Yeah.
That's it.
They also
No,
the
she has one because she's a badass motherfucker.
But you're right. But you're right. In a way, right? So you
And-
wonder, like, can she trust Yasna? Maybe she should, right?
Yeah, but all of these are huge gambles
yeah.
because
They're gambles,
as soon as you like play your card that you have this problem and she doesn't help you, you're fucked.
You're
All
fine.
right. Let me go. So wait, Ben.
So it's
anything
not
add?
easy to
We
say.
got to keep it quick.
Nah.
Okay. Dross.
I would not have stolen it. I would have felt too bad about squandering the opportunity. But that would have changed after the alleyway scene, which we can get to in a minute.
Ooh, dogger. All right.
And that is exactly what happened.
Manny.
It is kind of.
I don't think if I was in her family, I don't think that I would have stolen it either. Just because I agree with Brett, like I feel like that family was just doing some
But
sort
their dad
too
got
much
them fucked.
illegal crap.
And that's that'd be your
Yeah, but
fault.
that's
Your dad's a mob boss.
But is your father your fault?
And you're like, well, we're gonna be screwed.
is your
if we
family
don't
doomed to
Yeah.
get
So
screwed
your
over because
father's-
your father was a bad person?
I feel like she could have learned and been able to help them on her own as opposed to.
Dude, she's
Trying
making
to
some
steal.
boss connections.
I know that's what I'm saying.
Hard.
And I feel like also what with Josh said, I don't think that she felt comfortable to bring it up to Jasna because I'm sure Jasna has a lot of people that come up to her
Yeah.
trying to get something out of her.
Right.
So she would immediately just
Right.
be like, "Bye."
All right, so I think that's round table. I agree. I think if I was Shalon, it would have been a gamble, but I would have to try to. I would basically take the mentality that I'm not going to steal it,
but I have an opportunity to prove myself before I ask for anything.
Absolutely.
But that's the mentality that I have. But I think she's clearly very sheltered. She's got a lot of pressure, a lot of pressure on her. Her brothers, they came up with this plan, and they're also
came up with the whole plan.
Well, but they're also freaking out, right? Because they're getting visited. Brett, are you still on? Did we lose you? Okay, good. Woo! Brett's back. So okay, to move on. So she's happy, and then Yesna decides to make her study some philosophy.
Right. Right.
So
Because she was
philosophy.
complaining she was getting bored with studying just history.
Right. Because who cares about history?
It's the philosophy of the history, but she's like, let's make it a little more practical for you.
Oh my gosh.
And
boy, does she.
this can get into very real life, like now type of
Yeah.
logical arguments. What is kind of the better way of, how
do we
justifies it?
judge-
How do you justify and judge
So
certain
before we
actions?
go on for the listeners, although they've already read it, we just kind of want to quickly reiterate, right? So she's getting bored, she's sitting in, and Yesna decides to take her on a field trip, basically.
Right.
And the field trip is to show her about real life.
To the south side of town.
Yeah. To the south side of town.
Chicago South Side.
So they visit an alleyway that's renowned for pickpockets and cut purses, killing theater goers and looting their corpses.
Conveniently not being patrolled.
Right.
Conveniently.
Right. Yeah, there's some
Corruption.
suspicions that the city guard are in on it. They're getting paid off. So Yesna decides to do King Taravangian a favor and go get herself mugged, quote unquote. But she has her soulcaster, and this is the first time we get to see the soulcaster in action.
It's the second time. Because
Second time.
She soulcasted
She soulcast
Right.
a rock.
Right.
That's right.
So two groups of cut purses attack Shallan, a very frightened Shallan and a very calm Yesna in the alley. Yesna dispatches them with lightning and fire from her soulcaster.
Stone.
Literally turning them directly into it.
Right. So
Fire.
they are definitely dead.
Yeah. I mean, no, they got turned into fire.
Yeah.
Some people into stone. Like,
Yeah, they got obliterated.
Yeah.
And then 2 into smoke.
So that's an interesting rule that we learned right there on how soul casting works. It works on everything. But sharp blades work differently on different things.
But it is forbidden to use on humans.
Oh, yes, it is.
But you did anyways.
And so Shallan has a little bit of a moral dilemma with this, and this raises some excellent philosophical questions in the book. What is right? What is wrong? Was Yesna wrong for going into the alley to bait these men out only to murder them? Was she a hero for saving
a lot of
potential
other
future
potential
victims from these cut purses?
And I've got a feeling that this is definitely that main core of exactly what you just said is going to be a huge theme throughout the book, and it's really do the ends justify the means? And that is, I believe, going to be setting up for a lot of future discussions as you go through, and you kind of run into the same thing where Kaladin's a great example of this. Do the ends justify the means? Because Saladus says, hey, Sadius says, I'm saving troops' lives. Less people are dying by sending the bridgemen forth, and it's better. I'm able to win the battle with less casualties by having the Parshendi kill these slaves
Not
who I
less
don't care about.
casualties.
No, he even said, he's like, if we would have had a full frontal force, there would have been hits. The same amount of people who died as bridgemen would have just been actual soldiers. who
Correct.
died.
So it's not less
Maybe not
casualties.
less
It's less
casualties.
worthy lives.
Or about the same amount of casualties, just now it's less worthy people that are dying.
Yeah.
So you've
Less
got that,
drain.
like, in his thing,
long time to take.
according to Yesna, that almost seems like he's making the right decision. Because he's looking at it overall, and it's really the end result. Do I capture the gem hearts with minimal, or not maybe minimal, but with casualties, less casualties, and
But I want to point
getting the
two
outcome.
things out. Yesna did a lot of investigation on these two scumbags. Number one. Number two,
She gets me.
He's got a very deep connection with Yesna.
that bitch.
I love
Manny's
her.
like, she understands why I killed those 2 pickpockets.
I thought that was the hitman's job, man. No, but so she did a lot of research, but you're right. But the other thing is, I don't know that she would agree with Sadius because she seems to not judge people based on any of the modern day or her society's
Standards. Agreed.
Yeah.
Agreed.
So kind of interesting. So we'll have to see how that pans out, right? So the other thing to keep in mind is that Shallan chose, right before they went on this field trip, to not steal, right? She had it. She had it, and she
she's
said,
like, no.
I'm not
She
gonna
was
do it."
leaning towards staying with Jasna. She really respected her and loved her.
Yep.
And this
Yeah.
is what totally changed her
And
mind.
then they went on a field trip, and she watched Jasna murder probably deserving assholes, but she murdered them brutally. And
technically, they didn't really suffer much.
Yeah. Well, the guy got lit on fire.
it
turned into fire.
Turned into fire.
It wasn't lit.
That seems painful.
Well, I'm assuming just.
It was instantaneous.
Yeah, that's
This
true.
is the
He's just
moment
no
she did
longer
it.
existing anymore.
Yeah, he's just
So
Now he's fire.
Interestingly, right after that, she nabs it.
Shallan
Take-
gets the
but-
courage to take
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
There's
So-
one more thing I want to go back to in that alleyway.
Yeah,
sure.
They discovered something unusual about the princess. That the last two people she dispatched, she did not touch them.
Yeah.
And I think it was like common knowledge that you have to touch what you're soul casting to change it.
To change it. That's right.
Yeah.
Very
Yeah.
interesting. Now, was that an accident?
It seemed like she did it on purpose, and she knew.
She
what
knew
was
how
doing.
to do
Yeah.
it.
But also you wonder if they've always put up walls. So could this whole soul casting thing be maybe a bit of illusion around that too? Because they never let common folks see the soul casting. So is that common that all of them can do that? They could just like erect these up, but what's the point of saying you can only do it if you touch? Why have that little lie in there? Is it to make people feel safer when they're around them? Like, oh, as long as they don't touch me, I'm okay.
It might
but
be.
it's all this grand illusion type thing. There's some really cool like
There's some Wizard of Oz curtains going
getting
on.
thrown up.
Curtains up in this
Do you think there's a potential that lie could have been said throughout the ages just because maybe the heralds and the voidbringers were actually just normal people that were utilizing soul casting, but they wanted to make it seem like their powers were special beyond what
Now,
other people,
That's
other
an
soul
interesting
casters can do?
point, but I think that they've clarified that soul casters in some of the new design, not the real shard plate
Fabrials.
and shot, but fabrials and these things are new technology trying to emulate.
The herald.
And I
Old
also think the
technology.
Heralds did more of the lashing stuff that Seth does, which he doesn't, as far as we know, have a soulcaster.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
Also,
But,
what I would like to bring up as well, or to counter Josh's argument, is Jasna is profoundly intelligent, and she's done so much research. She needs to know everything about everything. So she doesn't form opinions or anything until she knows.
Based on history or
Yeah,
assumptions.
everything that she needs to know. So I think that some people might be limited to how they use a soulcaster, but she's not really, because she's willing to break
Experiment.
rules or do things. She doesn't follow other guidelines. She's like, I
already
want
a-
to try it on my own and then see how I feel about it.
She's already a heretic.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
just goes,
So I think she might be more advanced than who uses soulcasters.
Also, in the culture, the king assigns soulcasters out to use, but he always sends them with an ardent, right? The ardent are the guys that use the soulcasters.
Which is why the one guy wants to steal it back.
They've always tried to get it back from...
Because she's a heretic, so it seems like the soulcasters are tied a little bit to their religion and this whole
Definitely.
religious sect.
Okay, so we get through the field trip and we get through the stealing. Now my brain's jumbled though. So what happened next?
Well, I think this is an excellent opportunity, since Josh just brought up the Ardentia, to talk about the Ardents. And I want to talk about Capsule a little bit.
Capsule.
He's a very interesting character, and I was wary of him because in that scene where he's talking with Shallan in the garden and the king is across the courtyard with another Ardent, Capsule ducks under the bushes, and he has a really good ruse. He's like, "Oh, I'm supposed to be doing some bookkeeping or whatever today. I don't want to be seen." And right away, I'm like, something's fishy. He wants to stay hidden from the king for a
You are a
reason.
lying son of a bitch.
But I mean, I had no idea that Capsule would end up being an assassin, a would-be assassin. But he was definitely suspect. Like, I didn't think he was a legitimate member of the Ardentia. I kind of was. He was very knowledgeable and he had done his research, but there were some red flags that the readers can see where it's like, this guy might be a little untrustworthy.
I still think he is part of the Ardentia.
maybe a rogue
Well, he wasn't.
sect, or-
I think it was confirmed at the end of the chapter that he wasn't because nobody else knew of
none of the
knew him.
Ardentia
They knew
knew him
of
there.
him, but he knew them, but nobody really knew him.
No one there knew him. And I
So-
think he was from a different outside the
sect
city.
or
Yeah, he
you
might
could
have been,
also
yeah.
assume one thing that was very interesting is he seemed to know some of the arguments for the Ardentia and for the religion. Like he was talking about the whole that was a really amazing scene where they're talking about audio resonance, where they're saying like when you, which is a true thing you can see if you put sand on a speaker nowadays, they typically show that, and you could see all the patterns that emerge from that. And he was doing it with what seemed like a giant drum and almost like a violin bow. So he was like rubbing it along the side, creating certain resonance, but it would create almost the shape of a lot of the cities. So he knew about the religious arguments. So I'm wondering if maybe he was actually still part of the Ardentia. Could he have been more of a sect, like Ben was saying? I think that's an interesting. Or maybe he just did some research so he could fit in.
Yeah, he could also just possibly be such a trained
Assassin.
I mean, I guess he would be a better assassin if he was such a trained assassin. But he could also just be so prepared because he knew Yasna is incredibly smart.
Right. Oh my gosh.
But,
Brett, you were throwing so much shade.
I feel like he was
Wait, what's
genuine, like sincere about his attempts with religion when talking to Shaolin.
They felt real. It was excellent dialogue he had with Shallan.
I agree.
It was really interesting topics and really good dialogue that they were exchanging between the two of them. So I think maybe he did have a really good. He legitimately did believe in that religion, or maybe he was even a member of some different
different
Ardentia.
group. Yeah,
Yeah.
He certainly really cared. Like it seemed like it was legit. Like he was really trying.
Very
to,
passionate about it.
He was. Yeah, he was.
That explains
also-
his reason for trying to attempt and kill Jasna.
He also recommended Shallan follow a certain path, right?
He did.
A small, not oftenly followed path, but he recommended that. I wonder if that's something a little different. Maybe Ardents have a guild of assassins that we don't really know about.
Yeah, plus they could
knows,
also be
man?
kind of like building on the behind curtains, because there's definitely
Something
that resentment or something, like they wanted to control, or they almost did like world domination before, or power, you know what I mean?
Well,
But now
culturally,
they're,
that's why prophecy is so dangerous.
yeah,
right?
now they're like pushed down, so maybe there's like a group that's like,
still-
no, we should be ruling.
I got to comment on it again, though. I still love that how the prophecy, so culturally, they don't gamble based on they don't gamble on what's going to come up. I just
That's
love
so
that.
weird.
It's like just culturally, they're like, no,
thought process
we
of
mess that up. Like, that's a really good. Sanderson does some good work.
And it's
there.
also kind of a cool question to come up to say is it because maybe was the assassination attempt because she has this soulcaster and because she's a heretic, or could it be more because of what
getting
she's
closer to the
doing?
truth.
She's the research she's doing,
which
So-
not even Shallan fully understands yet.
But
right? She's trying to figure it out. She every day
Long game strategy.
long game.
There's a lot of even Yasna said that there's been attempts on her life many times before. Seems like that maybe the ones before weren't because of the research she's doing, because she's doing that now. But is this a different one, or is it kind of the same as all the other ones where it's just because she's a heretic, she's the queen's or the king's sister, there's a lot of money there? Is it because of that, or is it there's something else going on?
Hey, I'd like to point out too, we keep getting this underline, like really briefly mentioned tidbits of this brotherhood or something like that. It's like this, like yes,
There's a symbol on Casbal's wrist or something that shows he's part of some type of cult.
Yeah,
or
there's like there's a guy visiting him with their black market soul casters, Fabrials. There's like there's a mysterious guy with Zeth, and then there's like even Yasna and Dalinar. I think even on the Shatterplanes there was a brief, quick mention between the king and Dalinar, where the king mentions the brotherhood, blah blah blah, and like walks away. And I'm just like, what in the fuck?
Yeah.
What are they even called?
I missed this completely.
It's really subtle.
catch that at all.
To be honest, I'm only catching it because it's the second read through.
Yeah.
I'm like, what is this nonsense? Like, I didn't catch this.
For Brett and for anyone who missed it, so there's a few references. One, Casbal has a symbol on his wrist, but when they're talking about it, when Shallan finds out about it, she remembers a conversation with her brother where the guy that gave their family or brought the soulcaster, who was using the soulcaster for their family, had the exact same tattoo on his wrist. So there's some connection between the people trying to kill Yezna and the people that were controlling her family or working with her dad to create all the false wealth and money for her family. So there's some bit of connection there.
And then
what
the king says, he's like, back at home, something, the Brotherhood. Was it the Brotherhood or Brotherhood? What's the name?
I can't remember what they were.
It's so subtle, but it's like the king says it. The king, Dalinar's nephew.
They're worried about
Ducking.
And I'm like, what is this? There's something.
There's
that
definitely
people
something
are
there.
kind of. Maybe it's like a modern or this world's version of the mafia or the mob or something like that. We don't know yet.
The Illuminati.
Yeah.
I wonder if they're I wonder if they're the ones that Shallan's family owes the broken soul caster.
I mean, it would make sense, right? Because the guy
Well,
who
they
was
do.
using it for the father has the tattoo.
Has the
on
tattoo,
him.
so exactly.
It wouldn't make.
Oh,
sense.
does he? Okay.
Yeah.
So clearly, Shallan's dad was in some murky
Cahoots with them.
some murky stuff.
Yeah.
And they're not being too.
And they're
awesome.
dangerous because they came back and they were talking to Shallan's family and said, "You guys have to get this to us now."
But are they? But the other thing is, they didn't kill him outright or just like take it.
But they don't have
said-
it yet, so they don't know it's broken. But they should
They
know
don't-
it's broken
no, they
because
don't.
the guy who died knew
But then
it
he
was
died.
broken.
He didn't. He may not have told them.
But I don't know if he would have taken it to his grave. He probably would have been like, "Yeah, they broke it, or it got broken." But maybe they
That's
would have killed him,
interesting.
so he didn't
Yeah.
tell him because they would have killed him.
I
anyway.
think we're kind of guessing a little bit there, right? But we do know that there's some kind of a relation going on, but we also know that they're not instantaneous murderers. So
Yeah.
interesting
Right.
to think about. So and then I don't want to get to Calvin yet. We gotta keep going, Shallan.
Close that off. Just Capsule, which can link back into Shallan. In that very last scene where Shallan is in the hospital bed and Capsule brings the strawberry jam in for her and Yezna's sitting there. And Capsule tries to get Yezna to eat some of the bread and the jam. Yezna
No, just the
refuses.
bread, 'cause-
Just the bread. Oh yeah, just the bread.
He knows that she doesn't like jam.
Right, exactly.
She doesn't like that
Just the
female
bread.
food.
Just the bread. And he keeps telling Shallan, try some of the strawberry jam. Try some of the strawberry jam. Because I think he legitimately he didn't want
He likes
Shallan
her.
to die.
I think he likes her.
Yeah, I think legitimately.
freaked out.
He didn't want to
Oh,
kill
and he
Shallan.
did
Oh, he
freak
freaked out. Oh, yeah.
Because then he starts. I was like, what the hell?
he puts it on his finger, tries to
put
put it in her mouth.
yeah,
or
and he starts scooping his entire hand and just scarfing up the strawberry jam. It's like, what the heck is going on? And then he gets up and tries to run away and just passes out. And so that's the end of Capsule. We find out exactly what happened, why he was doing that.
Yeah.
It's because he hid the antidote in the strawberry jam.
And he put poison on the flour,
powder.
the powder of
Right,
the bread.
right. And Shallan tried to get up to help him, but she is all wobbly from the poison. And Yezna is able to revive her because Shallan reveals that she has the stolen soulcaster. So
But she was looking for something else. The garnet?
Garnet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She needed a ruby in order
Shallan
to
says
use.
it's in my safe pouch, and then Jasmine
I have the real
discovers the soulcaster.
Well, no, she said her
She pulled it
soulcaster's in the thing. So
pouch.
Yeah.
yeah, but
Because in her mind, she's like, you can't.
soulcaster.
Yes,
well,
it's
what's really
looking for a
interesting.
garnet, and then she's like, you can't do it without your soulcaster.
But Yezna eats some of the bread, right? Because
No.
Shallan was saying, you don't be rude. And so Yezna takes a piece and eats it.
No, I thought she just took a piece of the jam. I thought she dipped her finger.
She
in the
dipped her
jam.
finger in the jam and said it tasted
she said it's bad.
And then
she said the jam's bad.
Shallan kept saying, you're being rude and come on. And Yezna takes a piece of the bread and eats it.
She did eat some of the jam though, like a fingerful.
So, yeah, so
She smelled it and then wiped it in a napkin.
You're right.
oh yeah, so you're wondering, so she took some of the bread and she didn't eat the jam, but somehow she wasn't unaffected. Maybe she didn't eat enough, or there's something going on, but Shallan was immediately like, we've got this problem, like, I'm dying, and
Yeah.
she immediately freaks out like, okay, I stole your soulcaster because you can't save me without it.
Yeah.
So
That's
that
what her
turns
mind
into
was,
it.
right?
That
'Cause
turns
she's
into
looking
it.
for a garnet, but why was she looking for a stone?
To use it for a soulcaster.
Because you
Right.
do need the stone with Stormlight in it in order to activate the the Soulcaster.
It would have been interesting to see.
But it seems a little weird that the one that she had didn't have a garnet in it or something. Because she had a fish
she
one.
used it. Well, in her mind, she used it killing the dudes, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, but she wouldn't have left it out in a high storm, in order to refill it.
It's kind of interesting.
Well, they break sometimes when they're using soulcasting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll have to do a rereading to just get the specifics down to that. But I think, regardless, when Shallan opened up her safe pouch,
Sees what it
it was
is.
obvious. Yasna knew that.
Yeah.
Shallan
And Yasna
had
is-
stolen it.
So it's kind of one of those things where there's a lot there that we could kind of, guess about. But then also, you're right. In the end, it doesn't matter because that Soulcaster came out and
She would.
The truth is out there.
Yeah.
So,
Well, there was a part of me that felt like, I mean, obviously, Capsule's reaction with the jam like really kind of works against this, but there was a part of me that for a minute that wondered if Yasna was the one that did the poisoning, because she's already been proven to like be okay with
often
putting people's lives in danger or killing them that she feels is wronging people.
Right.
And
So
she-
like a part of me kind of made her wonder if she was like, well, I can't search her.
Right.
So
And
let's
she-
put her in a position where it's in her
Oh.
best interest to say if the Soulcaster is in her
Yeah.
possession,
'Cause I was-
because she makes it very clear. She's like standing next to her and she's like, I need to soulcast you. This is gonna be very
Yeah.
dangerous. Like why,
Yeah. And she hated
she's just
Capsule
like
too,
why wouldn't she
anyway.
just do it?
yeah, so could it be that she was baiting Shallan into giving an answer like, this is your last chance. You're going to die unless you come clean right now. But I almost think that she seemed a little shocked at that point. There was a bit of a surprise. So maybe maybe it was more meant for Casboll because she thought Casboll stole it or Capsule stole it. So she was like hoping he would be the one to come clean, and then surprised when it was Shallan.
When it was
that actually ends up coming
Shallan,
clean.
yeah.
I think Manny brought up a good point before we started recording that I think Yasna was legitimately surprised that Shallan stole it, because when she walks back in her room the next day once Shallan's recovered, she's very, very pissed. And she says, I think, like, quote unquote, I hate it when I'm wrong.
I hate it when I'm wrong.
Yeah.
So she did have high hopes for.
But it could be that
Shallan.
she was just wrong because she thought it was Casboll. Or
That
she
could have
thought
been
it
it
was
too.
Capsule.
Yeah.
That could have been it too.
So there's
You're right. She might have thought it was Capsule. Ooh, this is
I know there's
tough,
a lot around this. I think like this scene would be one that like you want to go back and you want to read because there are little hints in there that there's something going on.
Dude.
Because everything doesn't quite really match up. Like did she eat it?
Did she
and
eat
then
the jam?
the poison
really
in the
happened?
jam, she put her finger in the jam and then
She put her finger in it.
and then also like it tasted weird, or she was like, "Oh, this is
smells
disgusting."
weird, yeah.
But
It was bad, it was
Strawberry.
rancid.
If we guys know, maybe it's just the people, but strawberries are delicious. But maybe it's just a cultural thing. Where
I don't
they
think
like
so.
that.
Because
but-
even Shallan said, like, oh, this smells like vinegar.
Yeah.
But why?
it
How
went
does
bad.
strawberries?
Because he had the
like
antidote in
vinegar.
it, and it was strong. Because the
she's
amount of poison that he
Why
put on
did
the
it
bread was
taste like
very
vinegar,
potent.
though?
So maybe he put too much in there because all the other times, Shallan never had loved the jam. So you think maybe a little bit more wouldn't have changed the composition that much, but he was getting desperate, so he put so much in there. So just like
He was
half and
unsure
half
how much
antidote versus
antidote.
half and half antidote and freaking jam. I don't know if that would have tasted very good either.
But like, why? But why? Why would he get desperate though? He's never
Shallan
seen.
was gonna
He's
leave.
never seen
That's his
Yasna.
connection.
though.
Shallan was gonna leave, and he had no other way to get close to Jasna anymore.
That's true.
But I'm just saying, like, but why would he get desperate with the amounts of how much he poisoned it? Like he
needed
never
to
really saw
succeed.
Yasna before.
Well,
it's not like it failed before.
good
It's not
point.
like
And
she
that's
had some bread and he was
and
like,
you're right,
oh, that wasn't enough.
It's a good point
Yeah.
because all the other times, like, it's not like he didn't have enough. So what's the point of loading it up? Because she's not going to eat the bread anyway. It just so happened that this time, well, we think she did because they describes that she did, but
We have to confirm
why?
that,
What's
yeah.
the point of
She did
putting
eat some.
more on when
She
she's
did. Confirmed.
more isn't going to give her a higher chance of eating it. The problem was she never wanted to
Exactly.
eat it. But it's very interesting.
And also think about the fact who's the one that actually ate the most jam? It's Capsule. He was like shoving it into
And
his
it
mouth.
still
He's the
wasn't
one.
enough.
He's the one that went down right away.
This is why. She even says it, because Jasmine's a fucking bitch, and I love her. I mean, a smart-ass motherfucker. I believe he used too much of the powder during this last attempt, more than he'd used before, perhaps hoping to get me to breathe it in. That's why.
So they was in the
breathe it
air.
in. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, but Yasna's also very intelligent, and she'd probably want to come up with explanations for why her story is correct.
you know what
We
also
also got
So just 'cause Yasna say it.
she did eat some.
Yeah,
anyway.
I think she's accurate, though.
But you know what else is a bit scary too is
I
who
think
was
most
what-
likely you're right, Manny, but I still am curious about it.
But I think one thing that's very interesting is this going to be a bit damning for Shallan? Even though Shallan didn't know, is it possible that Yasna is going to be like, you're in on this? Because who was it that said, Shallan, you need to eat the bread? Or I mean, Jasna, you need to eat the bread. It was Shallan who pushed for Jasna to eat the bread. It's rude if
But
you don't.
I think
He
right
brought
after,
it
towards
for
the end
you.
of the chapter, they talk. I mean,
Jasna does not think that she's associated with at all. She even says that you were played, child. You got played.
Yeah.
She's like, he played you.
Can I just say this, guys? Once this gets turned into a TV show like Game of Thrones style, I cannot wait for the actor to play Capsule. Just like go Miyazaki style on this jam and just like shovel it into his mouth. It's gonna be so hilarious.
come on, this stuff is going to be dope on TV. It's going to be dope on TV when it comes.
Just like in that movie.
You mean when I direct
they're
it?
Just,
Yes,
like,
sir.
the pigs, when they're just feasting like on all the food, I'm just picturing him going to town on this jar of jam.
Gonna croak so real quick, so we kind of talked through this entire part, but the one thing that we haven't talked yet is Shallan's drawings, her vision, and her attempted suicide.
Soul cast.
Oh, you mean her soul casting?
I mean her soul casting.
That she did without a soul
Touching the
caster.
soul caster.
It was, where was the soul caster? Was it in the safe pouch?
It was in her safe pouch.
Wow. So is it the closeness to it, or is it there's something totally
All
different
right, all
that's
right.
going
Well,
on?
let's
here?
start from the beginning, right? So she's drawing
king.
occasionally, and she keeps drawing this freaked out characters in her drawings. And Manny's got a picture of her right here.
Shapes for heads.
Yeah, they're like hooded, right?
Yeah,
It's funny that it's
They're like dark.
for those of you if
He
you
doesn't have the actual book.
if you have the hardcover of the book or even the
Neither do
soft
I.
cover of the book, it's the first page or in the very first few
Maybe
pages.
getting closer. Hold on. Can you show it to Brett?
Yeah. Brett's
The camera. There you go. And they're called, what did you call them? Pyramid heads?
She doesn't know what to call them.
They're pattern heads. But pyramid heads like Silent Hill. Are they evil? I think they're gonna carry a giant sword at some point and kill someone.
Yes, a cleaver, a giant cleaver.
Yeah.
So it's really cool because to think, like, for instance, she's got this fantastic art ability.
Yeah,
She seems to
But she
capture
did it
a memory.
the first time she drew them was when she drew
Exactly.
Capsule, right? Capsule.
Yeah, no, actually,
No,
she
the,
did it earlier.
the king.
The king.
I thought it was Capsule and then the king.
It was first. It was the king.
Capsules later.
First it was the king. She crumpled it and she's like, "I'll draw it later."
Oh, and then it was
it
Capsule.
was Capsule twice. And she's like, "Why do they keep going in there?" So there's something up.
And she's
with
doing
her.
it subconsciously.
And but this is a very interesting thing is this tied to kind of the art because she has this unnatural ability to just blink and capture a moment.
Yeah.
So now she's capturing a moment and then all of a sudden there's something there that she didn't consciously recognize. So is that actually there or is it something from her memory trying to come out? Like, or her body
Right.
trying to come out? Like,
Well,
is
she
it
always
internal
feels
or
like
is it
once
external?
she gets it out too, it's like gone. She has to capture a new one, which is kind of cool. So really, So okay. So she draws this, and then she basically draws this earlier with the king, and then she's trying to draw Capsule because Capsule knows she's leaving, and he
He
wants
wanted to give her a
picture with
gift.
her.
Oh, oh.
So
No.
she draws this, and it freaks her out. Then she draws it again, and it freaks her out. And then she freaks out so hard she starts
running like a crazy
And then
mad
she
woman.
goes to her room, and she's freaking
drawing,
out and drawing it
drawing.
again, and they're getting closer every image, which was kind of a creepy scene.
Yeah, that'd be
actually.
funny.
I mean,
That was super creepy.
I can imagine Manny right now doing this and just having a conniption fit.
Fuck no. I would have a panic attack.
So I think the difference is it would be like me.
He just starts swinging at the air.
It would be Andrew doing it. If he had this ability, Andrew would be doing it. He'd just be like, that's curious. I'm going to do it again. There'd be me and I'd be like, oh, this is kind of cool. Like, what is going on? This is tripping me out. Then there's Manny who's going to do exactly what she's doing. I got to run away. I'm like going to jump off a bridge to get there. You know what I mean? Like, just
I feel like
get-
Andrew would be like, my insanity level's increasing. Yeah.
I'm getting stronger.
All right.
But then when she was on the bed, I'm not 100% about this, but I believe she actually touched one.
Yeah. I believe you're right. I believe
one.
Did
So
she
the-
feel one? Yeah.
So here's
she did.
Are they there and they just like dodge people all day long?
Like the Invisible
Or is it
Man.
her? Does she have an ability
Yeah.
that we don't know about?
Well, yeah.
So
Yeah,
here's the
some
thing,
of
though:
them.
are they good or are they bad? What's like this is something that we have no clue. She's running freaked out.
So we have a little clue, right? Because she accidentally soul cast something during this panic attack, right? So she has a
Right.
panic attack, and then she needs. What is she? She's trying to soul cast for a reason.
Does she go
panic-
somewhere when this happens?
She's in her room.
in her room. She
And
locks herself up in her
locks
room.
herself in her room, and when it happens,
Also, a voice kept saying, "Who are you?"
Who are you?
Over and over again.
Oh, this is so awesome.
It's so crazy.
Sanderson's so awesome, man.
Yeah.
so there's so much that's kind of going on with this when we try and say, what does this have to do with? Is this particularly to her? Does this have something to do with the system? Does it have to have something to do with the Spren? Is
the
it
Soulcaster?
the Soulcaster? There's like all these things where this could be part of anything. And now you're trying to figure out like what is really happening.
So
here.
what does she do? She turns a glass of something into
Blood.
Oh yeah,
Blood.
something else that I wanted to
Blood.
talk about was
Me too.
10 heartbeats.
Oh yeah. She
just like a shard blade.
she talks about her original guilt long before she met Jasna that she did something terrible. And so
Yeah.
she didn't think about bringing out her weapon in the alley.
She said she began to process enemy 10 heartbeats to bring forth the fruit of her sin.
So here's the question: is that the same as what we know about the shard blades, or is this some other thing?
Or
because there's got to be something
just
she
have a
knows.
fucking shard blade.
Because we got to know though: is this
The proceeds of her most horrific act.
Yeah.
so?
Dude,
but we
I
know
don't even
that
remember
she
this
killed
shit. This
someone.
is dope.
But immediately after that, she essentially soul casts. So is there going to be something that maybe this 10 heartbeats has to do with more than the shard blades?
The whole
or
system?
is it something to do with other things? Because all of a sudden there's this whole, wait, this is connecting to other types of magic. Because you don't know if you hear about this with like lashings. You don't hear anything about the 10 heartbeats, but maybe this has something to do with what she's doing. Are there other reasons or are there tie-ins between this 10 heartbeats with shard blades and maybe other things that can happen? Are there these other like possibilities? You don't know exactly what this is.
So exciting. All right. We're gonna close out this episode, this Shallan feast. So
And then we'll
it's-
get to Kaladin
and
next.
next
round.
episode. So here's what we're gonna do though. We're not done talking. We're gonna go over the hour if we need to because we talked a long time on the interludes. So keep talking.
When she was in her room and she like falls into like a dark world, kind of like it reminded me of like Stranger Things. You know?
Definitely.
'Cause it
The
had, like,
upside
the
down?
water, but it wasn't wet or whatever. I don't know. It's so crazy.
And
So let's talk that.
What is that place? So she obviously goes to either an alternate dimension, maybe physically, maybe just in her mind. But there is just like these what they describe as beads. It's almost like these tiny little glass spheres everywhere.
and a
They're-
white sun.
and they're getting into her mouth. She's like falling down. She's reaching. Sinking into this. So when you think about
Like
that,
quicksand.
what-
That's how I imagine it. Beads
Yeah.
of quicksand with
and
just
it's this just like fear that's gripping her. Like she is gonna die, and she's just reaching out for anything she can. So exactly what's happening? Is this in her mind? Is she physically somewhere else? And what are these beads? Are they gonna be like? It's just so.
What does
it's
he
so
say?
unique.
Maddie's got it up right here. When she's falling, she says, he goes, I've been as I am for a great long time. I sleep so much, I will change. Give me what you have. That's when she's sinking in. I will change.
I don't know what you mean. Please help me. I will change.
Yeah,
That's a really
so
unique
awesome.
part. What do you mean? I will change. And then immediately after this, what happens?
She changed.
Something
Transmutated.
changed.
Yeah.
So we're talking this pitcher that she reaches out and touches that all of a sudden turns to blood. Like what's a pitcher of water was it? So and this is touching on something that's really unique, which is like alchemy. Where you can change something from one thing to another, and they're changing water to blood. That is a little close to some of the religious stuff, where water to wine, which is kind of that same color, but now we're talking blood. But are you transmuting something without some alchemy circles? But there's some really interesting kind of things.
So-
about how does that work?
I gotta ask you guys something though. So after she does this whole panic attack, freak out, weird voice, crazy, Then she panics because Yasna's at her door because of her panic attack in the beginning. Instead of saying calm, she freaked out, and so Yasna's over there. And then she sees all this blood, so her instinct is to cut herself.
Yeah.
And then lay down like she passed out or tried to commit suicide. And I'm thinking to myself,
That's great thinking on her part.
Yeah, on the fly. On the fly.
do you think so?
That was a good
Man,
plan.
I honestly,
was
I
great.
would have thrown some shit on top of it and then sat on it and then been like,
I'm pouting.
just listen, I'm pouting, Yasna. Exactly. Did she have to freaking? I understand because she's panicking, she's creeped out,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
it's blood. She's like,
She probably missed her boat because of that.
Yeah.
her
Yeah, but
her getaway boat, yeah.
But you know that guy with how loyal he was to her during the trip, he'll stay.
Yeah, he
he
was.
seemed like I'll take the hit in terms of money because
He's-
I'm in debt to this family. But he was amazing during the actual trip. So
Yeah.
could he? Is he still that in debt to stay? But I think that'll be fine.
yeah.
All right,
Yeah.
guys. Any last words on this story segment? I think that's what closes.
Something that she brings up
Yeah.
when she sees these creatures, or she thinks that's somehow related to stealing the Soulcaster, but then she reminds herself, like, I was seeing these creatures before I even stole the
Oh,
Soulcaster.
she did mention that. That's
So
a good catch,
I
Manny.
think it's something that she
Yeah,
had
because she
already.
hadn't stolen it yet when she drew
To the king.
Yeah. Right.
So, all right, I think maybe a cool
so
final
many cool things.
section here. We just talked a lot about Shallan, but we gotta say, all right, right now I think we should go all the way around. Who's your favorite? Who do you think is better? I think Kaladin or Shallan. So going all the way around, we just talked a shit ton about Shallan.
Wait. We have more main characters than just Kellen and Shallan now. We also have Dalinar.
Right.
Wait, but what about Jasna? Why are you not including her?
She's not a main. She's
yeah.
supporting.
But
that's what
Dalinar's
Manny's
like
voting.
Jasna. She's
no,
they're not the main.
Dalinar, we have chapters regularly
Yeah, we do
for
have
Dalinar.
regular.
We have 3 main characters right now. Dalinar, Kaladin, and
All right,
Shallan.
so
Manny's vote will go for Yasna. So we
regardless of if she's in it or not.
She gets me!
All right, so let's go around and let's say who is the person that you like the most right now. I think we should start with the director.
Man, that is hard. I'm
I
gonna
know.
go with Kaladin.
I got to second Brett and say Kaladin is such a boss motherfucker.
Yeah.
I still like Shallan.
Nice, okay.
nice.
We got a
Shallan.
Hitman.
My
goes for
vote
Shallan.
goes for the downtrodden Kaladin.
Nice, okay. We got 3 for Kaladin, 1 for Shallan. We're gonna have Dream say something dumb. Nah, she's not even.
You can say
Wow,
whoever you
I
want.
Nah.
don't like you.
You can say whoever you want.
Yeah,
Drew.
say whoever you want. Who's your
Really?
favorite?
It's I'm more intrigued with Shallan's story, but in terms of like character and personality, I think Kaladin is much more admirable than she is.
I'm going Adolin.
But
That pompous, angry prick. But he's got a good heart. He's got a good heart.
He basically is Jeff and Real in this story.
yeah, so that's everyone's vote.
Also, one last quick question: does anybody feel like the voice that Shallan heard could be the same voice from Dalinar's visions?
Well, she hears 2 voices.
It might be.
She hears 2 voices.
Because there are 2 of the pattern heads.
The other thing is we didn't talk about Kaladin's whole experience.
Yeah.
either, which we're going to
Would-
talk next
next
episode.
chapter.
But
We'll talk about that next
we
week.
got some.
She had heard the voice originally. It says, "Who are you?" And that was a voice. And then when she goes into like the dark space, she gets another voice that she says is warmer and different than the original voice.
Dude, I love your Stranger Things
That's true.
kind of because I just
Upside
watched
down
it.
world. When she goes to the
That's
upside
awesome.
down world.
Yeah.
But first of all,
That's how I envisioned
but
it
first
as well.
of all, let's talk about the fact that this is the best quote of all time. That is somewhat arrogant of you, Shallan said, don't you think? Only if I'm wrong, child, Jasna said, turning back to her book. And I rarely am. Fuck yes.
Fucking Manny. All right, we know now we're gonna.
It's
by the way,
literally like Sanderson
me.
bugged your phone, Manny.
here it is.
It's just stealing things that you've
There it
said.
is. Okay, folks. So when
Plagiarism.
for those of you listeners, when we may see some of you listeners at a con at some point, I now know that we're gonna go with T-shirts with characters on it, and from this book, and I already know what Manny's T-shirt's gonna say,
Yasna,
and my
Adolin.
T-shirt's gonna say, and we'll get our other T-shirts aligned, but. We do have. The only problem is that
I'm gonna be Syl.
Our hitman doesn't.
Yes.
Our hitman just doesn't have the giant eyes He's just
Oh my God, he's the opposite.
He just doesn't. He's just
We
the
can't even
opposite.
tell if his eyes are open.
He's got the head though.
He's got the head, yeah, dude. And then I think we might know who Dross's character might be. I think certainly would put a Kaladin on his t-shirt.
No, I'm pretty sure that Dross is Capsule.
Dude, come on. We're going to get into this, but I think Dross's, our captain's history just reminds me a little bit of Kaladin. And then I don't know about Josh yet. I don't know yet.
If I ever cosplay as Capsule, I'll just be walking around with a bottle of jams
And bread.
Sit down. Like some bread and jam.
All right, guys. So we're going to close out this episode. We went a little long. We apologize for that. We normally won't do this, but we had a lot to talk about. 2 weeks. We haven't seen you guys. So we're going to see you. Well, that's actually only the recording. I might release this in a week. So we'll find out. But
Yeah,
we
it's
didn't
gonna be
record
fun.
this. All right. So, and then next episode, we are going to talk through Dalinar first. Just get him, because he's got a shorter part.
Super short.
3, and then we're going to talk mostly Kaladin. So we'll see you guys later. We are over, and we
Cheers.
are out. Cheers.
I finished my drink.